Okay, let's try a little tour around St. Bart's again in this little Cub Crafters X-Cub. It's a delightful little modern rendering of the venerable Piper Cub, but with modern avionics and a lot of airframe tweaks that make it, more current, more modern airplane. We're going to attempt to make a landing down that hillside onto this runway. That's the way that nearly everyone that lands at St. Bart's has to approach the island because of the way that the wind is almost always blowing. And it is a dangerous approach that requires checking out and requires training before you can ever be allowed to land at this airport. And I'm not very good at it in this airplane because the tail dragger is always a little bit more of a challenge, but we're going to give it a go and see how it works. Same airport as yesterday, different airplane, and we're going to do the circuit a little bit differently. And here we go. Love looking down into the water. There's very often interesting things to see. Coral and occasionally dolphins and whales and such. Don't recognize that brand of cruising ship, but it's nice to see some cruise ship traffic around a little bit again in reality. It's never gone away virtually, I'm thankful. Now the trick to come over that bluff and down that hillside is that you want to be going as slow as you possibly can get away with, and you want to approach the crest of that hill as low as you can, and you've got to go against all the instincts that you learn flying a plane. You never ever push the nose of the airplane down. But in this case, we're going to have to do that. Also, they have planted a couple of large trees at the edge of that hillside that aren't there, thankfully, in real life, that we're going to have to kind of fly through in order to get the proper approach. So, if I worry you about flying into the trees, rest assured they're not there in real life, and they're not going to do us any harm in this case as we fly today. Now there's a little bit of a warp to the image that you see through the prop here occasionally, and that is because I have a thing called motion projection turned on for my virtual reality. And what that does is it takes a staggering amount of horsepower to make all this stuff work in virtual reality. And virtual reality wants to play with 90 frames a second to make it believable to the human eye that what you're seeing is what's actually happening. And generally, it's quite an achievement for all of this detail and all of the computing that's required to make all of this work to achieve 30 frames a second, if that, in virtual reality. So when I turn on motion projection, what it is doing is it is taking each frame that the computer is producing and it's magnifying that by a factor of 3, I guess I should say. So for every 1 frame that the computer is generating, the software is adding 3 frames. And it does a very good job of making what we're seeing smooth and believable, but we do get some artifacts from that, and one of the artifacts is that through the prop and occasionally at the edge of the wing and so forth, we get these warping distortions. Alright, I should have had busy talking and I'm not flying the airplane. That's a bad habit to be in. Anyway, here is our approach down this hillside, and there's this pair of trees that we're going to end up flying through, more or less, in order to get down this hill the way that it actually is. So here we go, and I can tell, whoops, yeah, there we go. Yeah, all right, here, and yeah, this is going to be dicey. Okay, I got on the brakes pretty hard there, but we made it, didn't we? Alright, let's go to the end of the runway and turn around and taxi back to the terminal. I think I achieved that. It's not as gracious as I'd like it to be, but... And I've got to stand on the brakes a little bit coming down here because this is a downhill slope to the runway. We should go grab a lounger and enjoy the beach out there, shouldn't we? Okay. And since this airplane is not as simplistic as the little amphibious icon, I can shut it down correctly by starving it out for fuel, leading the mixture out to nothing, and that ensures that there isn't fuel left in the engine or carburetor to accidentally ignite if the prop gets turned, which can be a dangerous scenario. So, thanks for coming along for the ride.